1 second, folks. My just second day in a row, something is going on with Facebook right now. It looks like the stream was deleted on Facebook. Just remove destination and re-add it. All right. Something going on with this, so I gotta re-add. One second, if you are listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast. So for the past 2 days, I should say, this has happened. So I got to look into that. You know, I'm not a big technology man, but for the past 2 days, it's like I usually do the live stream from StreamYard. So last 2 days, what has happened? Facebook, what's up? What's up? I've had to realign the Facebook deal. So anyway, we already got it going. We got it going. Let's get into it. We won't worry about that right now. We just gonna get into the content, do what we do. Just do what you do day in and day out. If you're really about it, you just gonna keep doing it regardless. You feel me? All right, let's get it. If you're really about it, you just gonna keep doing it regardless. You feel me? All right, let's get it. You guys are probably hearing me say that twice, because what I do is I make sure it's recorded well on the phone, and then I transfer over here on the computer, because there was a time where I had just started doing these, and I was talking. I did a whole hour-long show, and I realized once I got off, hey, the damn thing wasn't recorded. The sound wasn't working. So I want to make sure I'm always very cognizant of that these days. All right, let's get everything just set up where it needs to be and doing what you got to do. But I've gotten so much more efficient with the usage of technology these days. So really proud of myself when it comes to that. All right, so let me just introduce myself to any newcomers, anybody that may be new to my world. Today is more of a kind of just a recap day of what we've been discussing all week in regards to worldview, understanding where worldview comes from, understanding what worldview is all about, understanding where it intersects, and how you're going to have to deal with folks who don't share your worldview. We've been dissecting that all week. So we're just going to recap a lot of the things and the articles and the stuff that I put out for the past week. And then we'll get you guys out of here in about 35 minutes. I'm learning to now filter myself and make sure I'm structuring my time to not go off. All right. Because if you're a regular listener, you know, there are times where I can go from 0 to 100. We can start talking. A certain subject comes up, certain things pop up, somebody might leave something in the comment, and I go off the road. This is what it's like when you're a public speaker, when you have so much passion, when you have so much drive in terms of what it is you do every day. When I look forward to these every single morning, and when you're working from that passionate place, there's no telling. There's just no telling where you're gonna go. You just go. And I challenge all of you to get there, because it's a great place to be. It's a great sense of self. It's a great sense of pride. It's a great place to be in your mental health, to really be working in your truth, living in your truth, grinding in your truth, and just absolutely going after your goals. When you have that, people, there's no stopping you. When you have it, and every last one of us have it, it is on you to find it. You got to find it. You got to look within. You got to go deep inside of whatever it is burning up in your heart, whatever up in your soul. You got to find it. I'm telling you, got to find it, because if you don't, somebody else is going to define they're going to define it for you. And you don't want other people running your life. You don't want other people having control over what it is you're trying to do. All right. You need to take control of your shit. All right. So first and foremost, let me just intro again. As you can see, it happens every once in a while. I'm going to introduce myself to anybody that may be new to this world, maybe new to the whole Move Swiftly brand. Again, my name, Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. Created a whole business, a whole brand, a whole philosophy, a whole mindset, in which is all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn and gets taught on the football field, and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a team, they have a group of employees, they have a staff that moves as efficiently and has that hunger and that eagerness and that passion as a championship high school or youth football team. That's what we want. That staff, man. You walk into your business and you got guys grinding, like feeling it. I mean, when you really run it, when you are around it, again, when you're around it, these are community changing programs, community changing, like changing the trajectory of a community, of an entire mindset, entire lifestyle. When you have championship youth in high school, all right, again, like I was saying, I was kind of went off on a rant yesterday when I was talking about this, but when you get college and you get professional championship teams, not that that's bad, but it does not hit the community the way a youth or a high school football team hits the community. When you see it, when you're around a youth or a high school football team that is winning championships and that has a level of pride in terms of the way they go out and handle their business every day, when it comes to how the parents interact with the coaches and the coaches interact with the parents, and you get the kids who are buying into something that's bigger than themselves, hey, this is something that they're going to be taking with them for the rest of their lives. Those young men and these young women who are learning teamwork, who are learning integrity, learning hard work, learning work ethic, learning how to be determined, learning to work with others for a bigger goal. All of that stuff is going to be so important, such a parallel in terms of what goes on in their job, how they go about getting hired, how they go about showing up in their families, how they go about showing up in whatever situation they're in. All right. So I'm telling you, you want your business running like that. You want your business running in a way in which it's kind of running parallel to a championship high school or youth football team. That's what you want. You need that. All right. You need that mentality. If you don't have that mentality, I am telling you guys from my heart, I'm telling you, if you don't have that mentality with the explosion of AI and artificial intelligence and the way people are really catching on and the way folks are really starting to learn, okay, if there's something I can do with AI, what the hell do I need some lazy ass mofo in my company for? I'm going to say that one again for the people in the back. All right. Before I even get to my announcements. All right. If I think about this, think about it from a business owner's perspective. All right. With the explosion of AI and the explosion of technology, if I, as a business owner, can get something done by utilizing AI, what the hell do I need some lazy mofo, dead weight person who isn't producing any results? What exactly do I need that person for? If they're just going to sit around and be on the computer and use AI, why am I paying you? Why am I paying you? Right? You got to start adding value. Add value. All right, you got to start adding value, and you better get on with it. Because this is the way business works. It is not a pretty sight. They have no friends. There's no friends in business. No homeboys. They're gonna hook you up with a job that you can just be chilling. It's not gonna work no more. So get your ass to make your hairs. All right, I'll use that as a promo into the announcements today. All right, so. First things first. Let me get. This is me now transitioning to the announcements because I get a little excited when I start talking about this stuff. First things first. Make it free guide. If you are a business owner and you like the way I sound, you like the way I started the show, you like the first 9 minutes of what I've been talking about in terms of bringing people on, making sure that you have a staff that's cohesive, you have a staff that's motivated and determined and all that kind of stuff, and you want me, if you're interested in having somebody come in, implement a system that's going to allow you to create that mentality amongst your staff, first things first is you go to free guide. All right, free guide, that's FREEGUIDE, freeguide.com. www.makeyamove.com. It's very, very simple. You simply hit the button, it's your name, first name, last name, phone number, email, and just sign me up. You're going to get a 10-step process. I create a 10-step process that you could utilize right now. You could use it right now to start creating that environment within your organization. Now, it's not going to solve all of your problems, but it will align you. I basically put it in a very easy to understand math problem, which is establishing measurables. All right, that's on one side. Creating a professional distance, and then, well, first of all, it's establishing measurables. Then there's a plus sign. All right, plus sign. We're going to put it in a simple math problem. Establishing measurables plus creating a professional distance that is going to equal a productive environment, which is what you want. All right, establishing measurables. You have got to establish measurables. I've said that thousands and thousands of times on this show, and I'm going to continue to say it, because without the measurables that need to be established day in and day out, and then you need to establish professional distance. You don't get to be their friends. You do not, as a business owner, get to be friends with the staff. You're just not going to work. Once you have those two things properly in place and you add them together or multiply, whatever it is you want to do, then a productive environment happens. All right. But without those two things, you're not going to have a productive environment. You're just going to have people talking. All right. People talking about stuff, and it won't work. So that is the first step, the very first step you need to take. Next thing, obviously, move forward. Just simply go to makeyamove.com. You can, again, you'll see it right there on the website. You can shop, you can book me to speak, you could just do more research. The thing about the understanding of when you are bringing in somebody to do professional development, I strongly implore you to do your research on an individual. Makeyamove.com has all the research that you need on me. I probably update that site at least once or twice a month in terms of what's new and what's going to be going on. But that would be the main website to check out to dive deeper into the work that I do. All right. So announcements. We got through those announcements. Let's get into the content today. Let me put this up on the screen real quick. Recapping on shaping worldview. All right. So let me just go back to Monday. I'm going to put the article up from Monday just so we have it as a reference. I won't read it all out loud like I did on Monday, but it is important that I at least have it up as a reference so you guys can see it. So basically what we've been discussing all week is defining your worldview and understanding first of all, what is a worldview? Let me just read the definition full out for you guys again. Worldview. Believe I had it written so you can. Let me just Google it real quick. Worldview. There it is. Yes, right. So worldview, a particular philosophy of life or conception of the world. All right. The way you personally see the world, how you see it. What are the things that are valuable to you? What are the things that you see as valuable? What are the things that you make a priority in your world? All right. Now, for a lot of people, including myself, all right, this is something that I made the point of saying on Monday, and I want to re-emphasize this point because this is a strong point in terms of recognizing it and understanding why you've made the moves that you've made and why you've made the mistakes you made and not beating yourself up for mistakes. In fact, so for those of you who don't know, I teach. I'm a teacher. It's K through 5, and I'm pretty much around kids all between this, recording, running, spending quality time with my girl and, with the kids. That's pretty much my life. And, going out speaking and doing all these things. So I'm constantly engaging with folks who've made mistakes in their past, who still are very much making mistakes. And I remember it was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, I can't remember. So we're at this part of the year where some of the kids are, where like the kids are doing testing, and there's a lot of assessments, and a lot of things are just new and stuff like that. And I remember actually teaching one of the kids, it was a lesson that we were going through, and they just were, they might, decimals, that was it. Yes. Since we're going over decimals now, there was a young girl who had the right answer, right? She put the right answer. The only thing is she put the decimal in the wrong place. So, let's say for the sake of this, instead of it being 0.14 or 0.14 or something like that, she put 1.4, and obviously that changes the whole answer. Or no, I'll tell you what. So that happened, and then there was another student who actually she had the right answer, but the decimal looked like a 0. Right? And this, my mom's gonna love hearing this because she used to always get on my ass about my handwriting and stuff like that. So, so here's what happened. So she writes the answer, and the decimal looks like a 0. It looks like a 0. So the answer is like 1.4, but it looked like 104 because the decimal was made like a 0. And I'm like, you see, if you're getting, and I'm sounding like her, this is the scariest shit ever. It's always scary when you start sounding like your parents, like that. So I'm telling her, yo, if you don't fix your writing, the same thing my mother would tell me over and over, don't fix your writing, you're not gonna get to college, and people gonna answer a question. And I'm sounding like her. That's the scary part, right? So I tell the girl, I'm like, look, it's supposed to be 1.4. You made your decimal look like a 0. Now it's 104. And I'm like, geez, she's gonna love that. So the long story short is, or the long and short of this is, point being is we're all going to make mistakes. It's part of the game. It doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you, scum of the, doesn't make you any less of a human being. It's just you've made mistakes. And without an understanding of where your worldview came from, what you're all about, why you're constantly clashing with certain folks, is because you have a certain way that you see the world. They have a certain way that they see the world, and there's just absolutely nothing you're going to be able to do about it. You're not changing the person. You're not changing what they're about. If they value, a certain thing, hey, let it go. Let it go. Say it with me, guys. Let it go. Right? Let it go. They value some bullshit or what you perceive as some bullshit. Let it go. All right, let it go. You have your values. They have their values. Your goal now needs to be get around folks that share your same values and continue to progress and grow, because you're not going to get anywhere trying to appease folks that just simply don't get it. One of my favorite quotes ever is, and I think it's an anonymous quote, and I've posted it on several occasions, but it is, do not waste your time trying to explain yourself to people who are committed. This is the key word, committed to misunderstanding you. And they're not committed to misunderstanding you because you're a bad person. They're committed to misunderstanding you because they genuinely have certain things in their mind that keep them from ever understanding you. They just won't get it. Okay, they simply and plain won't get it. I mean, again, I've said it thousands and thousands of times. I was raised by a mother who would wake my ass up and go for a run. Like, she would not sit around and let me just sleep in. That wasn't her mentality. That wasn't my son's talking about playing in the NFL. He's talking about being some big time athlete, and you sleep. You got all these. This was my room. I had all these posters of football players and Ray Lewis, and I had the who's Randy Moss, and all these D Wade, all these posters I had on my wall. I remember this big one I had of Muhammad Ali, right? And she would use that and say, "Wake your ass up and go work out every single morning." That's what it was all about. Okay, and again, as I've grown, I get it. A lot of people don't have that. Doesn't even make other mothers bad mothers. It's just, hey, some mothers may value other things. Some parents may value this and they want their kids knowing that. Doesn't matter. The point of it is you have to be very respectful and understanding of everybody's worldview and get to a place where you can simply accept it. When you accept other folks' worldview and just say, that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. So a lot of this can be very difficult to explain because it's a complex issue. And when you're met with it, there aren't words in the moment that's going to allow you to explain yourself in a certain way. So for me personally, what I was dealing with a week ago and what led me to getting on this topic were, at the end of the day, two individuals that I work with that I've been working with for 3 years at this point, that I genuinely just, at this point, I can't stand. They get to me on a daily basis. All right, they get to me on a day. No one will ever know. No one ever know. And again, I've said this on multiple occasions. I don't do anything at a school, especially when it comes to the kids I work with and the students I work with. I personally will never do anything that's going to affect the experience of the students. So you're never going to see me really bad mouthing per se a particular individual that I work with. You're never going to see me bad mouthing kids and parents. You're never going to see me as an adult doing things knowing that I have kids watching me, literally watching me every single moment of every single day, to the point where they could point out certain things. They could tell me stuff about me that I couldn't even tell myself. In fact, just yesterday, a quick story, and I'll get back into the quick story. Yesterday, my girl texted me and she goes, all right, describe yourself in 3 words and then describe me in 3 words. Instead of myself doing it, I actually had the kids doing it. And I'll just put it like this. They had more than 3 words. The students had more than 3 words. It's like, oh, and they tore me up a little bit when I asked them that. So the long story short is, I personally would never let a disagreement with another adult here. I would never let that affect the experience that the kids are having. But yesterday, it gets to me. It does. It gets to me at times because they're 2 people that, again, I've known for the past 3 years that there's nobody with the turnover that happens in the education industry. After 3 years of working with 2 particular individuals, you really get a sense of who they are, what they're all about, what their mentality is when certain things come up. And when I really sat with that last week, I don't like them. I can't stand them. And their philosophy, their mindset, their whole way of being, that's fair. That's them. That's their mentality. But anyway, I put it in the chat GPT, just to get me through the moment, just for some mental health, some mental clarity. I put the question into ChatGPT, as you can see right there on the screen. I said, based on everything you know about me, and I use ChatGPT multiple times a day, so they're always collecting data about me. I said, based on everything you know about me, how would you define my worldview? The answer that ChatGPT gave, which was a very accurate answer, a centrist. And I'm like, a centrist? What's that? Like, what? And the more I read into the definition, the more it clicked. A centrist. It's someone who holds a political or personal views that land somewhere in the middle, not clinging to the far left or far right, but rooted in practicality, logic, and real life results. And yeah, that fits. Because my entire business, everything I write, speak on, and build is based on innovative teamwork, not division, not extremism, execution. That's what it was. So whether or not I like a person's views or their personality or whatever it is, I'm always simply interested in what's going to get the results. And we clarified that. I put the question out there Monday with the goal and the hopes to get you thinking about, hey, what will my worldview be? What exactly am I going to do when I have a worldview that conflicts with somebody else, and we're both needing to be adults about it and work in the same industry, under the same building or in the same roof? How exactly do we move forward? Do I just leave and go find another situation, which I don't recommend you do? Or do I be an adult about it, learn what I can learn? And who knows, when you grow, when you have the mentality, hey, maybe you're going to grow to respect each other. You're going to grow to understand somebody else's point of view. And that should be what the goal is, to teach. You shouldn't even want to be in a job or be in a situation where you just agree with everybody. You just like everybody. That's not life. That's not realistic. That's not growth. That's not going to lead to you making sure you are detail oriented on everything you do. It's not going to work if you do that. I'm just telling you. Yet. That's what the school system teaches. That's the employee mindset that folks teach. That's the problem that we have in our society, is we decide to tell young people, all right, this is what they do. They give you an A, B, C, or D in school, and all of a sudden they give you this acceptance, or they push these values on you. They push this value on you in which you as a young person feels like you need to have everyone like you. Fuck that. No. I don't give a shit. Like, you got to start to embrace being hated. You got to start to embrace being the one that's constantly getting looked at and say, okay, that's life. This is the reality. So I can start finding my truth, so I can stay on point. When you see professional athletes or high level entrepreneurs, folks that are actually making a dent and doing what they got to do, they are willing to run the gamut. In fact, I was listening to Marcellus Wiley, and he was, everyone's been talking about the RG3 and Ryan Clark situation. I gave a 10-minute rant on it yesterday, and I'm pretty much done with it. I'm done with the story. But well, actually, no, I'm not done. I lied. I will be probably diving deeper into that next week when I talk about this whole black fatigue thing. But one of the things that Marcellus Wiley mentioned that he brought up that I didn't even think of was when you think about the late Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe Bryant came into the league. He was liked. Then, he was hated after the situation that he was dealing with in Colorado. And then he came back with that Mamba mentality. And then, towards the later part of his life, he became just the lovable girl dad. The high level folks like a Kobe Bryant, right? They don't give a shit about your opinion. They're going to keep focused. They're going to have this laser-like focus about them that they don't care. That is the mentality, in my opinion, that we should be teaching. We should be teaching the mentality, hey, you got to stop giving a shit about if people like you. It's not going to happen, right? You can spend the rest of your life trying to appease everybody else, but it will not happen. No matter what you do, no matter how much you've done for a person, no matter how much you care about a person, everybody ain't going to fucking like you. Move the fuck on. All right. And that leads me to Tuesday. All right, let me get on because I've already talked enough for Monday. Tuesday. So Tuesday, as we do every single week, is we lay out something that I like to call Top 5 Tuesday. Top 5 Tuesday, based on the theme or whatever's going on that particular week. And Top 5 Tuesday was all about top 5 ways to cope with conflicting worldviews at work. Again, the reason that I had to emphasize the work part of it is because typically, the time that you spend around folks who conflict with your worldviews are the things that you need to do. You need to go to work to pay your damn bills and, put food on the table and all that kind of stuff. And most of the time it's work where you're forced to be around folks who conflict with your worldview. Same thing that would happen even in the football world. When you play football, you're good enough to play on this team and start on this team, but that doesn't necessarily mean everybody in that locker room, every teammate you have is just going to have your worldview. You're going to conflict with the way some people were taught, what their home life is, what their mentality is, what they value, all these things. Part of life, part of growth. That's what happens. All right. So when you run into these conflicting worldviews, there is a process. There's a process that you got to adopt, and you got to adopt it really, really, really fast. It has to happen really, really fast. Very first thing you got to do is you got to breathe. All right. You got to breathe it out. And I remember Tuesday, I forgot to mention this on Tuesday. But when I first learned public speaking, I was at Toastmasters, and there was this cat named Saint. I think his name was Saint, and he was crushing it, like DTM, Distinguished Toastmasters. I mean, there was one point where he gave it was a big speaking competition, and he gave 2 speeches that day, 2 in a row. And the thing is, well, even before the speech. So this was him before the speech, right? Before he would practice, at the speech at the Toastmasters meetings on Saturday mornings. So before he would start every speech, this would be him. He'd be like, every single time. And it would be a good 30 seconds of him just going, and going and giving a speech. I'm giving you this example because when you're dealing with coping worldviews, you got to breathe first. Take a fucking breath. Take a breath. Recognize it. All right. Breathe it out a little bit because it's a shock to the system. Once you take your breath, then you speak calmly. You have a a calm conversation. You speak calmly with the person. So that way, whatever information that you need to get across to that person who has a conflicting worldview than you get it across, you understand it, you guys understand each other, and you move on. Boom, because you were able to speak calmly. But if you don't breathe and you just clash, all right, clash with worldviews, and you start giving him or her some sarcastic bullshit, and you want to start throwing little attacks and taking little personal shots at a person, okay, then that forces a person to react. It's like, yo, now you coming at me wrong and all this kind of stuff. So that's where the breathing and the speaking calmly, it coincides. You have got to do that, because once you do those two, number 3 comes. Now you get to empathize. Now you get to understand, hey, I get where that person's coming from. You get where I'm coming from. And we can keep it all the way business-like. We don't gotta, you don't gotta like each other. You don't gotta hang out with nobody. You don't gotta go no happy hour with them. You gotta see them outside of whatever hours you have to work with them. And you can keep it moving. All right. Then you can empathize with them and just say, hey, that's like, it doesn't need to take up your energy. It doesn't need to take up your time, your most valuable resources, which is your time, your most valuable resource, which is your time. Next thing, number 4, create the professional distance. And you can notice, right? It's the same thing that I teach when it comes to you as business owners. How do you create a cohesive staff? You're going to see the same exact things. Creating this professional distance is the same thing in business. All right. You have got to do that, because if you're in business, money needs to be made. Money needs to be flowing in, and you need to be bringing in people that actually know how to do the damn job. All right. Not create some damn social club. All right. And then number 5, move the fuck on. Move the very, very self-explanatory one. Move the fuck on. Move the fuck on. Once you've done all 4, you breathe. You spoke calmly, you empathize, you create a professional distance, move the fuck on. Whatever that is for you, that is only what you can answer that question. All right. You have to be the one to say, okay, did what I had to do. Information was communicated to whatever the party needed to be, and understand each other. Now it's time to move on and get better, whatever it looks like for you. All right. So that was top 5. That was top 5 Tuesday. And now yesterday, Wednesday. Oh man, very, very, very rewarding day for me. I'm telling you, I got a chance. So the image that you're looking at. Let me get some water before I start. If you are looking at this on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you're looking at an image of my parents, and that was an image that was sent on Mother's Day, and my father's wearing a sweater of a clothing brand named the Jumper Status brand that was created by my cousin, my mother's nephew. So when I saw that picture, and I was like, okay, this is it. I have to talk about it. Me personally. I got to address this situation. Your one and only Move Simply speaker. I got to break all this down when we talking worldview, because you talk about my parents and then my favorite cousin. Now we had to break the whole thing down. So yesterday, go back to the episode yesterday. The term that I've come up with, the working title of book number 6, Win-Trapreneur, which is all about, being an entrepreneur, having an entrepreneurial vision, and aligning your entrepreneurial vision with a job that pays you every 2 weeks. I have coined the term Win-Trapreneur, and I wanted to talk about how my worldview was shaped and really be a person that practices what they preach. When you think about whether it's my cousin, my sister, mother, and father, go back and listen to the episode, because if you look at their philosophies and the mindset that they all have, and look at what they're doing, and you kind of blend that, you take a blender and you merge all of that together, a lot of what I do and what I say makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, it's been said by multiple people. I mean, more people than you would probably ever imagine. It's like Aswan, probably one of the most misunderstood individuals you will ever meet. I actually remember a woman telling me that. Like directly. Like, I mean, and here's the thing about when you get around some women, they start throwing them back, they start drinking a little bit, they get really emotional. Men do it too. I do it too. That's why I don't drink anymore. But, she comes to me and kind of in her buzzing phase. You could tell she's buzzed. You could tell she's been kicking them back, and she goes, "Aswan, one of the most misunderstood people that I've ever met. And it stuck with me because I immediately thought of those four. I immediately thought of the way my mom moves, the way my dad moves, the way my cousin moves, the way my sister moves, and you blend all of them together and you have me. You have me in a way where, okay, he has this crazy idea, but the shit be making sense. Be making sense when you really break it down. This is why I can empathize with a lot of people. I can work with a lot of people. I can be the dynamic speaker. I can, go here one day, go there one day. I can jump from, in fact, today I have several interviews. The interview element is going to be back on the show. I booked something. Like, there's so many little things I could put my hands in because the foundation, right? The foundation that was set by these four people. And that's where you got to start looking at your city, whatever the situation is. Again, I'm just speaking to you on my end, but I want to keep you guys understanding this is me being a role model. This is me setting an example. This is me basically saying, hey, this is how I'm able to move, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of where I came from. And until you get to a place where you start becoming proud of where you came from and stop, complaining about whatever may have happened to you in the past, no one's going to want to be around you. No one's going to work with you. You're not going to have a shot at really actually excelling to your fullest potential because it's your past. It's what made you who you are. Learn to be proud of it. Obviously, there were mistakes made, like we talked about earlier. There were things done that, hey, you made a mistake and hurt you or whatever it is, but learn to be proud of the places that you came from, because when you step into the world and you step into these places where your worldview and another person's worldview conflict, if you don't have that sense of pride and that sense of confidence, it's like my mom's, your ass is grass. Your ass is grass. You will not make it, because the people that do make it, the people that do have the establishment, they got that confidence and they walk around with that confidence. You could smell it on them. You could feel it on them. And I've always said that. And I'll close you out with this concept, because once I graduated from Stony Brook, I remember really getting to the point where I started envisioning my life, and me and my mom, we'd watch football games and stuff. So instead of watching the players, I had transitioned into watching the coaches and how they carry themselves and the way they talk to their guys and their players and how they deal with refs, how they call plays, all that kind of stuff. And that's what I mean. That confidence, not the cockiness, but the confidence piece. Ooh, ain't nobody stopping you with that. You can never have too much of that. I don't give a shit what nobody says. You can't have too much of that type of confidence. We got that type of confidence. Come on, man. Ain't nobody stopping you. It's nobody stopping you. It's like it's like you're a professional athlete and you're walking into the arena and you're like, I'm about to bust everyone's ass up in here. And this is why I'm such a big sports guy, because I love that. I live for that. I live for that mentality. I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to it. So, all that being said, like I said, we're going to keep you on here for only about 35 minutes on Thursday's recap, just to do a recap. Tomorrow, look out for Faith-Based Friday. Saturday, we're going to be probably finishing. Oh, no, we're starting, not finishing up. We're starting the Miami versus Florida game. We're breaking that down on Film Session Saturday. And then Sunday, stay tuned, stay hired Sunday, my good friend Kimberly Blue. And then Monday is when we're going to start talking about Black fatigue and this whole conversation that I've been waiting to dig up into the whole Black fatigue conversation, because it is something that I personally want to address with all of you. And it's important that you hear it directly from a Black male whose name comes from the Arabic word black. Aswad is an Arabic way of saying black, and that's why my parents named me Aswan. So you're not going to meet someone that's better to talk about when it comes to the whole Black fatigue conversation. So we'll dive into all that. Stay tuned. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, because it is taking off the valuable information that we give every day. And trust me, the interviews we got coming, I'm telling you, man, we going places. All right. All that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all this work. If you want me to come out and implement a system with your staff, so they have the same motivation, the same hunger that you see right here, it's makeyourmove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.